No, what I'm doing here is we've got these 2x4s up against this wall. This is a steel stud wall. And so what I'm doing is I'm screwing and gluing these 2x4s to the wall so that we have a way of putting our plywood up to the wall. So I'm cutting around my electrical conduit that you see right through here. I'm going to have to raise this light so we have room here. I'll probably put it right up against the purlins up there. So I have to finish gluing and screwing these studs all the way down. It's every 2 foot centers. And so I'm just laying flat on there, cutting around the conduit, and then the plywood will basically go up there on those 2x4s. And then all the way around on the base of it, I'm up to about 4 foot level. I'm going to have steel. I'm going to get like 22 gauge sheet and just adhere it to the wall. I'll probably have an angle iron down at the bottom to keep it protected at the bottom, and as kind of a toe kick. And I'll have something capping it at the top along the plywood. And then I have places to hang my tools and what have you. And a screw can easily penetrate 22 gauge, no problem. And plus it'll prevent fire, which, you know, when you get grinders, you get stuff that comes off them real hot. And so I want to make sure that we don't have a fire up here and burn this place down. That's the last thing I want to do. So the floor too, being wood, a wood deck, I'm going to sheet it with, I think I got 16 gauge material for that. I'm going to sheet the whole floor with 16 gauge material. Then I'm going to put some anti-grit coating on it. I'm not anti-grit, anti-slip, kind of a gritty paint on top of that to prevent slippage, and then I'll have a nice floor that I won't have to worry about burning up. And so we'll do that as we go along here, and hopefully we get to watch all this. So anyway, I'm going to continue putting up my 2x4s, and no real rocket science to this. I'm not trying to be precise or nothing. I'm just laying them up there, marking them where I need to cut them, cutting them, screwing them on. It goes pretty quick. So what I've done with this one, I've taken and notched it with the jigsaw so it will fit over the tubing. Going under there, line, and just the right place. Okay, good. Now, get our self-tappers. This is a decking screw. This is 1/4 20, and it's got a few flares on it, so it'll drill through the 2x4 with this tip, then drill through the steel stud. Now, the real problem is I'm using an impact driver. So you have to be real gentle when you go through the steel, because you can strip that out real easy. So So this will go right over that tubing. I'm going to raise your camera a little bit because you're not seeing the whole of me here. There you go. Okay, so right around here, this is where that conduit's running. So I marked the you see I marked the edge of the 2x4 where I need to cut, and I'll cut this up to about a quarter of an inch of the between a quarter and a half, and that'll cover that conduit, which is 1 inch. So so I'll just go ahead and I'll do that with my jigsaw. Okay. Now what we can do is put up our plywood. So, okay, now I have to move everything off this. May have to go down to get my cordless skill saw, because that last cut there, and a straight edge, because that last cut I'll have to scribe it into that 2x4. Well, actually I'm going to want to run this one, this wall. I want to put the, because I have to tie into that and then put a block on it so I can tie that last sheet into it. So I'll probably just bring in 2 sheets, then I'll go ahead and I'll I'll run my sheet this way, and then put my last sheet over there in the corner. So that's what we'll do. What I want you to note is that there's our plywood, our first one, and there's the edge of the loft right at the end of the plywood there. So I'm going to go to just let's see, it'd be about right there. That one there is going to be my first stud, and to put that wall on. So this is what my issue is. I've got a piece of steel right here. You can see it on the floor, and it's protruding back into this wall. So what I'm going to do, and the problem is I've got a pile of steel that's for the flooring that's stacked over here on top of it. And so what I have to do is get it cantilevered over so that I can put my plywood on the walls. And so I've got myself a sledgehammer, and I'm going to go ahead and start beating on this thing, see if I can get it moved over. Okay, got a pass where the plywood is. So now I can go ahead and tuck that plywood in and screw it off. Very good, very good. Now, drill this off. Don't want to put too much pressure when you're hanging out like this, because your momentum will take you and throw you right off the thing. I have no intention of falling down to the ground. I've done that before. It's not fun. Fell from this height, landed on my head. Had my arms in front of it, of course. But give me a nice black eye. That took care of that. So when I first started, I put a screw in the center, and then what I wanted to do is pivot this up so that I had 3/4 of an inch all the way up and down here. Let me re-aim that camera so you can see. What I wanted to do is the stud that I'm fastening to, is I wanted to split the stud. Well, when I put that screw in the center here, my paneling was all the way down on the ground. Or not on the ground, but down on the iron. So I wouldn't have been able to pivot it this direction and get it centered on the stud. So that's why I pulled that back out. I put a shim under the bottom of the plywood, and then I put my center screw back in again, and then started adjusting this over until I had the plywood on the center of the stud. And then I put my next screw in. And that effectively held that plywood straight and centered on that stud. And then hopefully from here on, everything will line up as long as this was framed right. This was done before we ever moved in, so I don't even know who did it. But it's done, and we're going to work with it no matter what it is. And again, this isn't a house. This is a shop. This is going to be, isn't permanent. It's going to be torn out. It'll be all redone again by somebody else someday. I don't know. But for the limited time that we're here, hopefully, you know, at least 5 years or so, this will all stay in here. And after that, I'm hoping to retire in 5 years. Maybe build a shop out at my place. Either sell this business, or hopefully it'll be self-sustaining, and I won't have to be here 40 hours a week. Actually, it's about 60 hours a week that I'm here, and I'll be able to do some other things that I enjoy doing. I'm really involved in volunteer work. Every month I do at least 20 hours worth of volunteer work or more, and I want to continue doing that. A lot of it's in construction. I've done work where we've gone and we've helped with hurricane relief and disaster relief. I really enjoy doing that. And within my faith, I've helped build the places of worship that we go to up and down the state. So we do all that volunteer labor, and nobody gets paid for it. It's all done out of the goodness of our hearts, and we get a lot accomplished that way. But that's the type of work I really enjoy doing. I'd like to have a shop at the house, and I'd like to make a product. I'd like to do some foundry work and make some tools and that sort of thing. So anyway, those are some of my ideas. Whether they come to fruition or not, who knows? But hopefully I'll be able to fulfill some of that. So anyway, so this is just all temporary. This is not going to be permanent, and but it is kind of built like Fort Knox, even though it's a temporary. So, okay, so let's get our new panel on. I'm going to have to move the ladder so I don't slam up against it. That was real smart. That's why you never put anything on top of the ladder. They fall. So, okay, let's get our next piece of plywood. I'll try not to hit the camera. Okay, so now we have to start the sheets on that other wall. Excuse me. And I can't do that until that sawdust. Can't do that until that wall is dry. So that'll call it a night for tonight.